because that was what was going on with that.
Okay.
I was not fond of that.
I just went live, by the way,
Anyway,
while you were talking.
great. So the beginning of the video is going to be the beginning of my middle of my sentence.
Yeah, pretty much.
Excellent.
I'm just copying the URL here. There's probably a
I
better
just
way
went
to
live,
do
by the
this.
way.
So just let
Oh,
me.
wait a minute. Now that you've gone live, things have got a bit choppier out on the sea. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Now I hear you. What is the topic for today?
Um, I typically don't go in with like a specific topic in mind. I mean, I might have like a more like general topic, but in terms of what exactly I want to talk about, and we end up just finding out throughout the course of the stream. So, do you have anything on your mind you wanted to chat about?
I remember there was this one time, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen here because this is only two people.
Mm-hmm.
And when others come, it's usuration, and then there's general moderation between people because there's usually one conversation. But I remember one time, uh, earlier in the semester, in philosophy at university, there was a period of time where both of the people who would normally take over or moderate the group to some extent were both not present.
Which group?
At the philosophy club. So it
Okay.
became rather chaotic, and different people were trying to take control of the club, and then they were like saying, "Raise your hand," or "Put your hand down," and it was getting very Nazi. Else was saying, "All right, I'm not going to talk." Oh man, it was Lord of the Flies.
Mm.
It was pretty entertaining, but it didn't end up doing that because I would not want to leave and come back the next semester or the semester after and then find out that the philosophy club had died because Lord of the Flies took place or the club was having too many infights. The most recent session, there was very few infights, and well, you know, uh, there was also no direction for the club in the conversation. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
What
me
do you?
myself,
Sorry, go ahead.
I have graduated this semester.
You graduated?
I did
Oh, congratulations.
in the winter time.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Um, you were studying philosophy though?
because
You said yes, right?
yes,
Okay. Um, yeah, no, the audio is a little bit crusty, like usual. So sometimes you kind of
okay,
cut off a little bit. Well, congratulations, man. I'm happy for you.
thank you. When did graduating?
I'm sorry?
Did you graduate college or drop out? I do not remember.
Yeah, I dropped out for a few years. I went to Rutgers, New Brunswick. Well, you went with me. Yeah, that's right. It's weird how
Yes.
our paths have become intertwined for a little while. Um, but yeah, and now I'm back in school. I think I'm like technically a sophomore right now. I've only been taking about 3 classes a semester just because commuting and work and whatnot. Even though there was a point where I was unemployed for a while. Um, so I've maybe like 70-ish or more, like maybe 90 credits to my name. Um, yeah.
Oh, how many credits I went into Montclair with 121.
Okay, so
I
you
had to, yeah, so I could have already graduated, but because I was going back and forth to so many different colleges, by the time I got to Montclair, I had already gotten 121 credits, but no degree.
Mm-hmm. And how many do you need to graduate again?
Well, they say in 20 to graduate, that you picked a major and completed it, and you're going to graduate. But I was already at 121 with no completed major.
Uh-huh.
I think it's
Um,
an entertaining point.
you said it's an entertaining what?
It's an entertaining thing that happened.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a lot of fun. So then at what point did you select your major?
That my major, I was doing environmental science, and I didn't like it, and then philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
I did that because I was very much concerned of the idea that you needed to major in STEM to make money, and I didn't want to do STEM, so
Uh-huh.
I didn't do STEM, and I got out of it.
Uh-huh. So what brought you to philosophy then?
What brought me to philosophy was I needed to pick something, and it seemed as if philosophy was rather broad, and it turned out to be very educational. Very much so in that you can apply it to so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a choice at the end. I think I got a pretty good education. I didn't know that at the time, though. I ended up selecting it for the reason that I selected it. And at the same time, I started looking into different paths for online businesses. And I said, well, if I can make money doing this, why would I if I don't want to?
Mm-hmm.
So that was my overall direction. And yeah, yeah, I kind of just did it. I remember seeing a meme not too long ago
Oh
and
yeah, one of those memes that I hear so much about.
about STEM. Well, they had one about STEM, and it was with the there is the one where it has the strong, muscular,
Yeah,
blonde.
the Chad inversion.
Yes, what's different? It's muscular, blonde. It's a different one. He has a mustache. He looks like Frederick Nietzsche, and he says all that he says, but it's supposed to be that. I guess it's a different type of Chad, but it's some sort of hybrid of Chad in theory as to
Mm-hmm.
what it means.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was at one point that it was supposed to be an alliance between people who study STEM and people who study trades. Uh, sex painting where it has the muscular black arm shape, what the gesture is with the muscular white arm.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with what you're. Yeah, they're like doing one of those like bro handshakes where their like arms are
Uh,
kind of like interlocked. Yeah.
it was a mix between that, and I'm thinking to myself, uh, these people are stupid. It's
Okay.
usually what it ends up being with something like that. If I find myself on the winning side and people are saying things that are, I, I can just say to myself at least, these people are stupid.
Mm. Um. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Um. So, was there anything else specifically you wanted to talk about? Because I thought we could talk a little bit about impeachment and the implications of such. Hello? I'm
I know
sorry,
our
dude. You're
discussion styles.
what's up?
Oh no, really? Did I cut out again?
Yeah, man, it's like happening a lot. I'm really frustrated. I don't know why.
That's pretty bad, especially since I switched
Here, give me 1 second.
to the
You're cutting out way too much. Um, let's see. Let's see if we lower the audio bit rate. Okay. Because you were pretty good at first, but now you're just like cutting out every 2 seconds, and it's pretty frustrating. Yeah. Um, yeah. If you want to switch to your phone,
You
that's.
may be able to hear me because I can hear you, but I'm going on to Discord on my phone anyway. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to have two conflicting things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. B. Hello.
Yep.
All right. Now, let me get my headphones for this thing, and then we'll continue.
Yeah, you sound a lot better.
All right. I'll take that as a sign. Let's see. I have my headphone now. I'm going to put it in.
Man, this must be so fun to listen to.
I think it must be so fun to listen to floorboards. Hello.
Yeah, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, totally.
Excellent. Let's start talking about those impeachments.
Tay epic impeachments.
K epic. Is that like a type lay? People are
Um,
now saying K instead of lay.
I said lay, but yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I thought you said
I was just doing
K.
some epic Reddit memes.
Lay spawns from Reddit.
It's like definitely in the Reddit vernacular, I guess, but it's like,
I think it's older than that. I think
yeah,
it came from like 2006 from like the troll era.
yeah, maybe
Like,
that's like because 4chan predates Reddit, right?
definitely Reddit came out in like 2008 or something, and 4chan is like the lay stuff was out before 2008. I remember it in like fifth grade
Uh-huh.
in like 2004, 2005. People are saying lay this, lay that on RuneScape, and it goes back to that area.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you seen that video of someone? It's just a clip, maybe like 15 seconds or so, of someone on RuneScape. Like it's like a kid, and his mom comes into the room and tells him to go take a shit because there's shit coming out of his ass, and the kid's just like, oh, no,
Whoa.
no, no, not yet, no, and he just sounds super I don't know,
Whoa.
defeated.
Whoa, man. Was he taking a shit in a bucket or was he just taking a shit
He
in
was
his
just he
pants
was
and
just
not
shitting his
caring?
he was just shitting himself.
It's just not caring.
Yeah, he's like,
Oh
no,
god.
no, not yet, no. Um,
Holy crap, man.
it's pretty awful. Yeah.
Well, because I guess he's thinking he can do everything later. He can shower later. He can dispose of the poop later. He can wipe later. He
Yeah.
can wipe the seat later when he's done. Like, he doesn't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
He's not gonna die.
Yeah, well, maybe his RuneScape character would because I don't know if you can pause in RuneScape.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, so getting back to the topic at hand, what do you feel about the whole impeachment thing?
Well, I think it's excessive and it's definitely biased in a partisan way.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny because, well, you could look at it this way. And
Hmm.
what I really think is I actually do think that um, the Democrats are causing the biggest issue here. And the reason why is because you have, okay, of course, the Republicans are going to probably say that they don't want him impeached. They're probably going to vote no because of the way that, if politics is super, super um, uh, identity politics based on both sides, then yes, it would make sense that the Republicans, even if they, seem to be the side that is less biased, they are going to be doing it
Wait.
anyway because they are, identity politics is the biggest thing. And the left
Yeah.
is always accused of being, way too heavy with the identity politics because
Yeah.
the left is usually the one who wants to shut down the conversations when the things get heavy in certain ways, in
I don't
certain,
know about that, but okay.
well, I mean, I'm just going off the stereotype. So,
Sure, sure.
you take this into, and you go across a lot of different, aspects. Like, I'm sure that you don't, but there's a lot of, you talk to like people who don't really like to have these types of discussions and they just say what their friends say. It's usually the people on the left who are going to you try to shut down the thing first. Uh, you know,
Uh,
so
Again, I don't necessarily agree with that, but okay. If we're just working up the stereotypes, then yeah, sure. But I don't think that's
working at the
necessarily the case.
stereotype. So I'm talking about the people who the stereotype applies to in the case where the majority seems to be on the left side of things. They are the stereotypes. They're not necessarily, maybe they're not the majority, but they are the demographic that sticks out. And then when people think of identity politics, they
What the
think
fuck?
that that's
Did you
the.
just moo?
No, that's my phone. I got a message on Gmail.
Okay. Anyway,
It did a vibration. So,
I thought someone else came into the Discord and just started mooing.
yeah, right. No, the fact that 17 of the Democrats voted yes and only 2 voted no. I think that if the Democratic side was more balanced in like the way that they view stuff, there would be more of a toss up. And then there was
Wait, what do you mean balanced in the way that they view stuff?
balanced in the way that they view stuff. Well, when you look at a lot of the Democrats that don't hold power, a lot of them say that this whole impeachment thing. It's going off of like not enough good information. It's not a decent impeachment anyway.
What is that your
Even
belief?
so, that is my belief, and I have another point to make as well too. Is that even if you are disagreeing with the impeachment, if he gets reelected, right? Because if he's doing stuff that you disagree with, considering the political climate, you should go after him for impeachment if he gets reelected. If he doesn't get reelected, then just let him finish his term, whatever. But if he gets
Um,
reelected, then go for impeachment. Because what you're doing now by trying to impeach him is you're just riling his supporters who are like, hell yeah, this is what the liberals are doing wrong. This is the problem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
mhm.
I would agree to them to that extent. And also the fact that the Democrats are not seeing this makes me think that they don't really care
They're not
that
what?
their party looking bad. They
They're not
don't. The
serious?
Democrats. It makes it seem as if they're not serious,
What
definitely,
do
and
you
it
mean they're
makes you
not
wonder.
serious?
They're not serious because of this political move that they're pulling. we're the majority of the way through Trump's term, and there's really no reason why he needs to be impeached immediately if you want to go down the route and say that, maybe this, maybe that about Russia. Even if you want to go down that route, it's so late in the game that, this impeachment, it's not going to get past the Senate, this and that. You
Yeah.
know, it's just bad politics any way you want to look at it, even beyond what views are on the situation. And I'm not completely informed because I don't completely care. I've seen,
Uh-huh.
there you can just go down either side and probably see the same the same amount of information, and I don't feel like reading through all of it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm the most like informed person in terms of like what impeachment means because it's only happened like what like three times
3 times, yeah.
in the entire U.S. history. So there's not a whole lot of protocol here, in place. But do you think that my
No,
most important
I'm not.
hold on my most important question is that do you think that Trump has done anything like impeach worthy, like whether he's going to
No,
get removed from office or not?
no, I don't think he's done anything impeach worthy. I
What
think
what
that
about the
the
what about the
distinct.
quid pro quo,
So, what is that referencing?
the Ukraine crisis?
Yeah, I think that anything that's out of the president's ability to do things,
What what
like it's not really something that's like out of his ability to do stuff. Like
to but
he was
to
allowed to
withhold
do it.
aid to a nation for uh, personal political um, like it seems like if Obama did anything like that, like the Republicans would be on his ass for that. You know what I mean? Like it seems like something that's and there's also like a myriad of other things that aren't necessarily like outside the bounds of legality, but just in terms of the way that it makes America look. Then I think it's not necessarily like illegal, but it's something that's worthy of being removed from office. Like
Well,
Trump is a criminal, but he doesn't need to be in order to be
um,
removed from office. I think.
hold on a second.
Like he's a huckster. He has a layered, checkered past of like not paying people and just a whole bunch of shit.
Well, I would imagine that there are probably a lot of people who end up doing that stuff.
Well, that you need
Basically,
to,
leaders are basically bound to be sociopaths because of the amount of people you have to manipulate to get there.
but that's
And
obfuscating the point, though, is that Trump himself has
it's
done.
not really obfuscating the point because in order to actually be effective, manipulate people really well, and then maybe you don't care about covering up your past if you don't feel that you need to. Like, let's say that
But
he wanted to be a
he does
politician.
try to though, and he
Well, now he
constantly.
does, but I mean, obviously before he did because he was, doing stuff like not paying people who were working for him at different venues, and they were just, and he doesn't need to cover that up because he just doesn't need to, uh, you know, he doesn't have to cover it up. But and a lot of the times I am arguing on the side of Trump for the sake of, if there is a case where like, um, he's like people just don't like him like in the media, so there's a lot of negative propaganda about him. It's kind of like, well, that could be the
Well,
reason
hold on. Like, do you think any of that is warranted?
it warranted. I see. I don't really know. I don't know if any of it's warranted. It's a very weird
Well,
situation that everything has changed so drastically. When he started being a politician, in terms of the way that narratives have all spun. There's obvious backroom deals going on that are meant for the sake of, a lot of political warfare going on. And with the whole thing about this whole impeachment process, where it's starting in just a stupid area. They're not pulling it out right. They should have done it in the second term. So they
Well,
should have
I
already
don't think
impeached
people
him.
want to wait for him to get reelected. I think
Well,
people
that's
want to take
too bad.
action whenever they
That's too
can.
bad. No, this is not the time to take action. They're shooting themselves in
Why?
the foot with
Why?
it. Because they're playing the game wrong. They're what was it? They're doing it too early. Orders for the people on the right that say that they want to say that this was a bad political move.
Do you want Trump out of office? It seems like you don't really care either way.
I
Do you
don't
have any stake in this game? Like
really think that he.
you don't like Trump, but I feel like you're just totally unfazed by him. Like you don't really care either
I
way.
don't dislike him. No, I don't dislike him. It seems like he got us out of the Middle East. And
Did
people
he?
don't really talk about. He definitely did. None of our soldiers are dying anymore. I mean, we're still bombing people with drones, and we got like a couple of base. Like
That
we're
doesn't
not
sound like we're out
dying,
of the Middle East then.
but we're not dying. Our soldiers are not dying.
Oh, I
The
see.
technology is better, but it's we're not actually like invading, or we're not involved with it the way that we were involved in Iraq. We've really gotten out of it, and if the military industrial is so much powerful than the government, then there's only so much that any president, any Congress, any Senate can do. And this is just the surface level of what politics is like, and there's all this shit going on behind the scenes. And I totally believe it. I don't believe that the stuff that you see on TV is the end of what goes on. I don't think that uh, the president is the most powerful person in the government at all. I think that you have the banks and the military and people whose names you're never going to know. You're never going to see them on Wikipedia. You're never going to see them in a book.
Okay.
These people probably are the ones who are running the show, because why wouldn't there be people like that? They could get away with it with the way that the world works.
Yeah.
They could get away with that.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're not giving me any sort of like concrete, um, uh, proof or like
That's what they use. They
statements
hide the
that
concrete proof from you, so that some
well
people who don't want
you
to
can
think past
you can say that as much as you want, and as much as it's probably true. There probably is a lot of stuff we don't know that's going on behind the scenes. Like speculation on that though is like definitionally conspiratorial though, right? Because
Well, of
how
course
can
it's
you how
conspiratorial.
can you talk about information that you don't even that isn't even like publicly known, unless you have some sort
Well,
of
who
like,
cares what you want to call it?
huh?
Like, that's another thing. It's like everybody wants to talk about the idea of conspiracy as if it's not sensible, as if it's not rational to make action decisions based off of conspiracy, which I think that it is,
Yeah.
because that's kind of what you do in life. Don't tell me that on the interpersonal level between one person to another, that you don't try to read people and try to figure out what their actual
Well,
intentions are
that's different than
besides their
like
actions.
a
It's
political
not.
conspiracy.
No, a political conspiracy is even more complicated than one person, because it's
Yeah.
multiple people. And if you're living with
Yeah.
somebody and you're trying to read their mind, you're trying to, get into their head,
Hmm.
it's easier to do that because you live with them. But if and they only control the influence, when you're talking about the government where they do control you and you don't, it's way different. And
Yeah.
there's things you just don't know. It's kind of like a toddler looking at the world.
Okay. So getting back to my point, I don't know, I kind of got lost there for a second. But so you don't think that you first of all you think Trump is fine, like you don't really dislike him at all, and you think that impeachment is a not a advantageous move. But wouldn't you do you want to see him in office? Do you want to see him have a second term?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
you
and
do.
I am gonna take the conspiracy route on this. Now, there is the
Wait, how is that a
possibility.
conspiracy? The fact that you just want him to?
No, the conspiracy route being that because I think Trump may be going after some of the conspiracies that are out there and the things that he does. The idea of draining the swamp is him saying he wants to get rid of the fix the deep state. Maybe we need a deep state, but the idea of draining the swamp is, fixing the deep
Well,
state.
do you think he's drained the swamp with like all the criminals that he's hired and like all the backdoor dealings that he's like obviously done?
See, I don't really know the way that it works because at the same time, it could be that his version of getting rid of the deep state
Is
is
hiring them
showing
and then having
what
them
he's doing.
fired?
Well, that's what he's been doing, and why does he need to hire them and then fire them?
Because
So
he's
the
a
fact
criminal
that
and he hires criminals, and once they get found out, he immediately, deflects them and like, what's it called? Disavows them. Like
well,
he
I don't
literally
know
like
what
has hired
exactly
like
that is.
criminals and like most of his cabinet.
Hired like criminals. I mean, okay, so he hired the guy from Breitbart. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a criminal. He hired.
Well, he's a white
I don't remember
supremacist.
specifically.
Like his cabinet is like rife with like white supremacy. Like like Stephen Miller and yeah, like what's his face? The guy from Breitbart. I forget his name.
I don't remember his name either. But again, why is this happening? Is it supposed to be a statement about different things?
What
Is
do
it
you mean?
supposed to? So, if we're living in the society where the government gets taken over by people who are white supremacists, we
Mhm.
wonder, what are we doing wrong? Why is this happening? And if he didn't do that, people wouldn't be questioning that.
So you think he's good because he hired white supremacists in order for us to find out that they're white supremacists and then get them fired? Do you think he did that with that
For
intent?
us to think about what we were able to do
Wouldn't
to
it
get to the
wouldn't it
point
be
where our government does these things.
wouldn't it be
How
better if
much
he
power?
just like didn't hire them and just said like, hey, these guys are white supremacists and provided proof? Like to me, that would make a much better case than just hiring them
No,
and then.
that's too surface level.
Okay.
It's a big manipulation game. You have to think about that.
Oh, he's just playing 4D chess, right?
Well, exactly. That's exactly what people laugh at it, and I say no. That's exactly what this is. Is politics is probably 4D chess.
But why do you think he's that intelligent though? Like he's obviously like an idiot. Like he's a dumb person.
I think that he pretends to be the way that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez pretends to be.
She pretends to be dumb?
She absolutely pretends to be dumb.
Why
You've seen her
is
on
that?
TV. You've seen things where
I've never seen her say anything dumb ever.
she says a lot of things that are dumb every
Like
day,
what?
especially in the beginning. I don't remember what they were. It was
Okay.
2016. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says something dumb. Alexandria. Now, first off, the Green New Deal is completely stupid. The
Why?
Green New Deal is not a Green New Deal. It's basically a liberal propaganda thing of just a bunch of stuff that they're. But it's not about protecting the environment. A lot of it's like, universal health care. But universal health care is not necessarily going to protect the environment. Why is that in there?
Well, no, it's not. It's not just about one thing. It's about,
It's propaganda.
it's collapse.
It's
Why?
propaganda. It's not about trying to solve the the environment thing that they want to do. If they want to, save the environment, you got to stick to the one thing. And you got this New Deal that has all these other
Why can't you have
because
policy that's
complicated.
multifaceted? Well,
Because you're not going to
just saying
have
it's complicated doesn't really. That's not an argument. That's just saying that it's complicated.
It is
So
an
it's
argument. It is an argument. It's an
you again
argument
just saying it's an argument isn't an argument.
because you have to let me explain it.
Well, you keep just saying that like, oh, it's complicated. Like you can't just fall back on that every single time and just like, oh, Trump's a really smart person, except he pretends to be really dumb all the time.
I'm just not detailing it right now because there's a lot of things
Okay.
behind it, and I'm not exactly thinking about them.
Okay.
See, my thing is I don't really think about how I'm going to present my arguments to people because I don't care enough to do that.
Well, if you're
The
having a
rest of
political discussion, it might be a good idea to like, think about how you want to present your argument. And just,
well, why would I think about it? It's not something I'm necessarily thinking about.
well, I'm
But
saying we're having a political discussion, so it might be
look,
worth like,
we started this. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says something stupid. All right, let me see. Where is it? Let me see. Yeah.
that's good.
What?
Hmm?
What?
I just said that's good. I'm talking about my little robot guy.
Where's your robot guy?
That's what I'm drawing, dog. I'm streaming. We're streaming right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I just literally didn't know what to draw, so.
So if I remember, because I can't find it on the internet now, but it had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She was making really obvious rudimentary mistakes, like the two branches of government, when there's three branches of government and stuff like that. These little things.
Wait, what did she
Right.
say about two branches of government?
She said that there were two branches of government instead of three branches of government.
Is that what's the context?
And the context was she's trying to talk about the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, but those are three branches, and she said that there were two. And this made the right go ape shit, and it was exactly what
I'm
she
not surprised.
wanted.
What was the context though? What was she talking about?
Well, I don't remember what she was talking about, and the people.
Like, can you find the quote that she?
I don't remember what it was, but the
Well,
thing
just
is that
if you said that the Republicans were going ape shit, that should be pretty easy to find, right?
The context. Okay, the context isn't relevant though. What I'm saying
But
though is
it
that
is though, because I don't think that she would like if she's a politician. I think she would know that there's three branches of government. That's some okay.
Yeah, exactly, and she's gonna say the two branches of government.
Maybe she was just talking about two specific, like well, you would have to show me the quote in order for me to know, right?
Dude, I don't know where to fucking find it. I don't.
Well, you said that she says a lot of dumb things, so it would be pretty easy for you to find something dumb that she said, right?
AOC, the two branches of government. Yeah. Ocasio-Cortez tries to name three branches of government, fails twice, then blames drooling Republicans. What is this? Oh my goodness gracious.
What website are you looking at?
Second. This is news.iheart. Oh, this is iHeartRadio.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. Basically, look, you can go on the internet, look up AOC, the two branches of government, and then
just link the article in Discord.
You're gonna see, I definitely find that. Yeah, no. I typed in what I typed in. Google didn't give me anything so far. Listen. It was in a context where she shouldn't have said that. And
she what?
She said it. It was in a context where she shouldn't have said it like that.
Well, you would just need to show me the context though. Like, okay, we can move on to a different. We can move on to a different point.
I'm not lying.
Well, no, I mean, you might be misinformed. I'm not saying that you're lying. I don't think that you would just make something up.
I saw the thing that she said. Listening to it, I was in the hospital at the time, and I was watching the thing.
Okay, maybe you were on morphine at the time. I don't know.
No, this was before surgery. So
maybe you're under the knife and you had some vision about AOC talking about the government. I don't know.
No, man.
When was this?
Oh, I don't remember. It was like last December, maybe.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Oh, it was. I see stuff for November 2018. Yeah, that's what it looks like. from where I'm sitting.
All right.
So
I mean, you also realize that it's possible for people to misspeak, right, and just say something dumb like in the moment, and then like revise their statements or something like that.
so then there was the second incident where she said something. Oh, right. Okay. So anyway, in supplement to what I just said, her with her 2 branches of government, I think it was on her Instagram.
Okay.
On that, because it was a short video. That's what it was. It was the Instagram.
Oh, so it was a live video?
No, it was a recorded post, I believe. It might have been a live video. Then there was a second instant where she did something else, but I don't remember what it was because I looked at it at the time and I'm like, oh yeah, she's dumb, and then I forgot about it.
Okay.
But I think she's acting dumb.
Okay. So do you like Donald Trump?
I don't think he's too bad.
Do you like him?
Do I like him? I don't decide to like him because I don't know enough about him.
But the stuff that you know about him, do you like? Because it seems like you like him.
Yeah, I like what I can see so far.
So you like him? From what you can tell so far, he's doing a good job.
Well, it depends on what you mean by like, or what you're specifically asking.
You approve of his decisions.
I approve of his presidency.
Okay. And you don't think he's really a moron who can barely put together a sentence?
He's a moron. If he's a
And you don't think AOC is stupid either. You think she just pretends to be stupid to trigger the Republicans?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't think she's stupid?
No.
Okay.
What are you screening me for? HIV?
No, I'm just asking your opinion, dog.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, I saw her speak at the Bernie rally in was it Manhattan? I forget. It was in Queens or Manhattan. I forget. And yeah, she was pretty cogent there. She didn't say anything overtly imbecilic.
Now, the second thing I'm going to ask is,
Okay. Yeah.
don't you think that it's better when politicians... Now, this is a two-sided question because now I'm seeing counter arguments to this. But let's think of politicians like Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit on the fence of these characters.
Excuse me.
To their specific tax laws that I don't approve of. But
Okay.
if we're looking at these two candidates, one thing is very interesting about the stuff that they say. And a lot of the time, they will very much go against identity politics.
Who? Andrew Yang?
It is Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard.
I mean, did you see the debates last night?
I remember that Tulsi Gabbard was voting maybe present on impeachment of Trump because she thought it was too identity politics related.
Okay.
But
are you counting Democrats and Republicans as like identities? Because I would say there's a difference between like identities, like black, gay, all the fun stuff, and like because then I think your political like ideology or whatever. I don't know if I would consider that like on the same level in invoking like identity politics. Because there's an ideological bent there. It's not something that you just like, happenstance.
Can you rephrase that? Are you trying to tell me that I do not that me personally do not pertain to identity politics? I would say that it's about the degree, because all politics is identity politics as it relates to interpersonal relations and
What all politics is identity politics? You said
to a certain degree.
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Well, it does, because the government is meant to identity, because the
The
whole
government.
purpose of
Sorry, you got
having
cut off. The government is what to identity?
the government is related to identity, and the fact that the government is supposed to control the state of nature.
Wait,
And
what?
the
What does that mean? The control the state of nature.
Okay, so I'll get into that. So the government controls the state of nature because the whole of the government is to control chaotic events. Now, why do people?
Okay.
Okay, the whole point of the government is to control chaotic events. The reason why people do not like chaotic events is because people want to be able to individually go out and do their thing with less chaotic events in the mix. And the
Okay.
thing is that when you have a lot of chaotic events, it makes your life less special because, one day you're just going to get eaten by a bear. What is that?
Well,
That's no fun.
I think that's
But
kind of a
when you have a
broad
society,
definition of chaotic events, but okay. Like
I'm
I see
trying
what you're
to
saying.
I'm
It's.
trying to like really put everything together and cut it down the middle.
I mean, I
So,
don't think the government exists so people don't get eaten by bears. But I get
well,
your
I'm giving
metaphor.
one example. Yeah, exactly. So the whole point here is that the government controls the chaotic events, and people's individual identities have factored into the agreement that the government is a good thing. And of course, not everybody in society believes that the government should exist, such as anarchists. But even the anarchists themselves, they get conversation. But
I don't
what I
think that
was
all
saying,
anarchists say that the government should exist. I think that there's a difference between the government and the
that
state.
is okay. So let's say that the all that's that's interesting that you say that. And I think
Because
we'll get
anarchists
into like
fight against
anarcho-communism.
unjustified
Okay,
hierarchies.
I'm gonna let's say anarcho-capitalists. They would not say that they live in the say that the government shouldn't exist, and they mean the government and the state, and that the government and the state are just the same thing. So that is what I'm talking about, and it's not really a huge point. But what I'm saying is that if the state of nature is basically the strongest survive, and all that stuff. So if you don't have any cops to protect you, you know, the people who have the biggest guns, the biggest tanks, they're just going to killing everybody if they want to because they can get away with it.
I
When
don't
you have a government,
necessarily think that. Like usually, I it's my belief that if people's basic needs are met, there's not a whole lot of incentive to like commit like acts of violence,
well,
unless they have like
well,
some like
I'm not.
political or economic bent towards. I don't know. That's a complicated thing because there
Well,
definitely is a lot
see,
of strife
that's
within
what
like
it is.
people, huh?
That's what it is, though. The people who have the economic bents, they're going to be a smaller percentage of the population, but they're going to be the ones who start making the power structures because they're the ones who are going to figure out how to outsmart everybody and then start making the structures.
Yeah,
Because we do, at the end of the day.
that's why I'd like to like get money out of politics and all that jazz and chill with all the lobbying and junk.
So what I was saying is that all politics is basically identity politics because everybody who exists in society at the end of the day have their own identity.
Yeah, but they're not
Identity
necessarily invoking
is
their identity in their like political like ideology though.
Well, they are
Like
because they're invoking their morality.
I can be for like health Medicare for all and be and exist in any sort of like cultural or like any type of demographic, right? That's not necessarily invoking my
What I'm
identity.
saying is that to a certain degree, to a certain degree, unconsciously is what I'm talking about. So to a certain degree, then yeah, unconsciously it's going to be a part of your identity. Everything that you say is a part of your identity, whether you like it or not, and that's
Well,
just
it's
the way
informed by your
we
identity, but I don't know if it's a part of your identity.
No, it will. Okay, so you can. It's kind of like what you want to call an identity, and the identity in the case of talking about your brain is gonna, quote unquote, what it's gonna do in the situation that you're in. Just, determinately, whatever your brain is gonna do, you could say that that is your identity. So
Not necessarily though.
you wouldn't want to say it's your identity if you're trying to say, this is who I feel that I am, because when you want to say that, I'm not talking about the super ego. I'm talking about the unconscious, basically. So
The subconscious, you mean?
well, no, the subconscious. Okay, so the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious, and the super. Well, the super ego we'll put aside for now, but the conscious mind. Okay, so every second your brain basically puts out 1,000 x bits of data, right?
Okay.
Every second it's about 1,000 x bits of data that fires off in your active brain. You're only going to be aware of like 7 to 15 of those x bits of data.
Yep.
A given second is like, so the conscious is that stuff that you're aware of, and then the subconscious is the rest of the 1,000 that you're not aware you also are thinking about at the same time as what you're aware of.
Yeah,
So
the stuff that's going on under the hood, that's the subconscious, you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
Then
what's the unconscious?
the unconscious is everything that you know, all of your memories, all of your tastes. You're not accessing that stuff right now at all. It's not firing in your brain. It's just in your memory. So that's everything. The unconscious is way more than 1,000. It's like octillions of bits of data.
Mm-hmm.
That's your unconscious because that's everything that you know.
Okay.
So
The cumulative knowledge that you've acquired. Okay. All right.
People will say, "Well, trust me." It's out of the right way, and then their expertise may be less useful because even though they are older, if they've been doing things the wrong way and getting into a lot of issues, then you figure it's a bad brain pathway. It's not really going to be helpful. The natural evolutionary thing here is that, well, a person does have a larger content brain. It might not be better than yours, but and sometimes people do what's called externalism. You know something, but you don't know how to explain it, and you do it automatically. And I think that that's kind of an issue with the way that people explain stuff. Because people explain things, and they mean so much more than what anybody would be able to tell from what they mean.
Sure.
Because they don't know how to, discuss it. So
Okay.
they kind of it all comes out in a way that that nobody understands, and nobody will ever be able to understand anybody else. Like nobody will ever be able to understand anybody else, at least not with our current technology, and that's the way that it's always been. And that's really interesting.
Okay. I generally agree. That's
So
communication is yeah. What were you saying?
so that's why all politics are identity politics.
Wait, how does that follow? That's a non
because
sequitur.
all of the stuff that's going on in somebody's mind, there's so much that's going on that's not part of what you're aware of, that you can't say that anything that you say is not related to something. There's
Dude, you're roboting like super hard.
that, but it's kind of hard to say that the stuff, everything that you say, even if you don't think it's part of your identity, it's basically part of your identity. And
Well, it's informed by your identity, right? But what I consider my identity isn't necessarily like the beliefs that I have.
I think that we might need to come up with
Like this might be just a semantic argument at this point because I don't think that we're like talking about the same thing. So anyway, why did we
For it.
huh?
It would be a couple of words for it so that the discussion isn't necessarily.
Hold on. Start talking again?
Hello, my name is Matt Tucci.
Just have to close Discord and reopen it or something. I don't know what the deal is.
Let's,
I'm just gonna close Discord. I'm gonna restart Discord. Okay.
yeah, let's go back. Give me a about the 11:45. Enough time.
Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't think anyone's watching. But yeah. Oh boy, what a fucking shit show. Yikes. Yeah, now I'm getting all green, so I think it's definitely Discord being a fuck. I probably just need to like update my my computer here. Whoopsie. But you know, you try and you fail. And that's how it works. Okay. Yeah, and then just immediately goes in the red. Alright. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna mute you, Matt, just for a second. So just let me know when you're all situated and I'll unmute you, okay? Jesus Christ. Oh well. I don't know. I need to like draw a party. Okay. Okay. Alright, I'll unmute you, Matt.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just recently gave you the suggestion of why not give a nice soliloquy to your listeners.
You mean my listener?
Oh, yeah, your listener.
That's okay. I talked to them enough in the real world.
Are they listening to this while?
Yeah. Are you still fucking with your mic setup there?
Am I fucking with it? What am I doing now? Can I be heard well?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the case?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I am very content now. So yes, I was saying that a semantic argument is basically a syntactical argument, except people don't know where the syntax comes from.
Okay. And remind me what the syntax is again in this instance.
Well, syntax is the technicalities of a context and things like that, whereas semantics is someone's interpretation of the context. But
Okay.
basically the semantics are the interpretation of the context, and that's effectively based off of syntactical rules within one's own mind. But so if I'm talking about the interpretation that I get from something, I can fully say that it is subjective, but in the sense that it pertains specifically to talking about, and that the point is that where was I? What the fuck? Oh man, I kind of forgot what I was going to say. Oh right, people, and they're talking about, a semantic argument. The syntax of their semantic argument is basically the reasons as to why they are saying what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the semantic argument because there's not enough words for them to really hop into their entire mind. Your own, language is going to be limited to what you're biologically capable of thinking about in your conscious mind. You're not going to be able to have words that necessarily go into your subconscious or whatever. All use music to do that, and people probably also use things such as tone of voice and spacing and context in order to portray those things. What's actually very interesting is that I was talking to a doctor, and the doctor told me that when you have communication, it's as if the words are mostly indicative of your conscious mind, and your tone of voice and eye contact are basically indicative of your subconscious, and then your body language is indicative of your conscious. And
wait, it's indicative of your conscious?
And obviously you do things with your body that are indicative of the conscious, such as if you're counting on your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
But the point of the standard there is that you're saying that you're talking to somebody in a conversation that only involves your words. Words are your conscious, and the subconscious is the tone and eye contact, and then the eye contact could also be unconscious, but the body itself is more unconscious, and things like that. Hold them consciously and whatever. But the way that the interaction typically works is that they're sort of seeing that the words are more indicative of what you're actually thinking about, and then when they see that coupled with other stuff, you're kind of thinking about it in terms of what else is the person saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if all politics are identity, is that there's a reason as to why you believe the politics that you believe, and that relates to your identity.
Yeah, I do agree with that, right?
That's what I meant to say. I guess I just output the words the right way. But,
okay, but I don't necessarily think that entails that all politics are identity politics, because there's some politics that invoke your identity less, or it's less dependent on your identity than others, right? And your identity is then informed by the politics that you ascribe to. So it's kind of like this feedback loop type thing, rather than just like a linear sort of relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wouldn't say feedback loop, but I would ultimately say that what is a feedback loop? What I mean to say is that to a certain degree, all politics are identity politics, but anyway, I think I might want to say that all politics being identity politics is actually more related, more important to think about than you might think it is. Because how many, it's kind of like, so I would say that people's poverty is caused by psychological states.
I disagree, but okay.
In society, if you want to not be poor and stuff like that, there's people you can associate with and things like that you can avoid being poor.
Okay, so just
well, it's not just
network
I'm not saying just work. I'm not saying any of that, because it's not always about networking this, or well, it could be. You could say that it's part of
Well, you said
networking.
being poor is related to a state of mind, right? Like it's on
Yeah.
the responsibility is on
Because
the person, right? The
so
poor person.
well, here's the thing. See, that's an association you have with somebody saying that. I'm going to say that, in situations, let's say that you're not able to network, or you don't want to network because you think that when you try to network, people are going to see how much of a loser you're going to be blackmailed immediately, and so that could be a limiting factor. And you repress this because you think it's horrible. And then, you're not doing those things. I think that's like, I think that's a big thing. I do think it's a big thing. A lot of people don't like me for this, but sometimes I ask people, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And they's like, I don't want to talk about it. It's like they'll want to talk about it. So, I mean, it's obvious that I hit him. That's probably the nerve that I hit. And through doing this to so many people, I don't, maybe in some situations, random stuff happens. We live in a society, we try to avoid that random state of nature, and I think that a lot of some of these people, they might be like, in these situations where they, to a certain level, they know what to do, but they don't do it, and they don't do it because they have their emotional repressions, and maybe they can't control that. It's maybe people can't really control their psychological states as much as they want to say that they can, but if you want to be technical, poverty, and what it seems to me is that poverty is mostly caused by psychological states. And if you want to get into actually fixing the solution, that's something that you have to address. You can't just say, well, it could be that anybody's just going to lose their job one day and then they can't lose.
Yeah.
I don't really think that really happens that frequently. And when it does happen, it often happens to people who aren't in great psychological states.
Well, maybe their psychological state is affected by the fact that they're being like abused in the workplace and they're getting their wages like taken from them. That could be it.
Maybe that happens to some people.
Oh, I think it happens to a lot of people. I think a lot of people find their jobs like Matt. You've been going on a tangent for a while. Can I respond?
I'm just saying, why are they?
Can I respond?
I'm trying to explicitly state.
Yeah, but you've been going on for like almost the entire stream has been you talking about different examples. I want to respond.
And I've also been trying to say that all politics are identity politics.
I know. You said that like 20 times now.
Yeah, I've been saying to a certain degree.
So can I respond?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think the idea that people are poor because of their psychological state is pretty ludicrous, because obviously that people are born into poverty, so that has nothing to do with their psychological state or like their ability to work.
Parents.
Huh? Yeah, but that's not you. Parents. That's not you though. Like
it's not me.
No, I'm saying it's not you. I'm saying it's not the person. If you're born into a poor family, like have you like seen that statistic that like people in a rich family tend to stay rich, right? And people in a poor family tend to stay poor. There's not a lot of class mobility, right? The middle class is shrinking more and more over decades. So I don't think you can attribute that to.
For that,
you
can't just go off of what the statistics are saying to argue the reasons as to why the statistics happen.
No, I'm just saying that there's evidence to contradict what you were saying, because if you had said that poverty, hold on, Matt, hold on. If you were saying that poverty is linked to like a psychological state of someone, then you would make the argument that like, so I mean you should be able to see that like related in the you should see that drawn out in the data where people who have
data that they measure.
Well, no, I would say that like it's a pretty heavily researched subject, like why people are poor. I don't think it's there's not a lot of like data out there to suggest that it's because of their psychological state. I would argue that there is a point to be made that like poor people like tend to be like more depressed, but I don't even know if that's true because there's fuck ton of like depressed rich people who only want to make number go up, and they get no fulfillment from getting more and more money, right? Because past like a certain income bracket, like the money's it's the money matters more than like what the money is actually being used for. It's just about making number go up, and that's not like healthy psychologically. I think that's like indicative of like an addictive personality. So I don't think that like billionaires or whatever are like psychologically healthy, because I think people who just want to accrue more and more money for the sake of accruing that money and investing in businesses to make more money is just kind of like this weird cyclical, Ouroboros where, huh?
It could be out of spite.
Yeah, it could be out of like any sort of like malignant, psychological phenomenon, but my point is that like to suggest that like poverty is on the is the responsibility of those who are in it, I think is kind of silly.
I would put it all on myself, and I would say, "Fuck this! I'm getting out of here." And
yeah, you think people don't do that?
I think a lot. No, I think that I don't really think that a lot.
Well,
of
it's
them
it's
really
hard to
do.
do that when you don't have like a place to live, or you don't have
No,
the
man, listen,
wages have
Matt.
stagnated
If I'm
for.
fucking homeless, I'm gonna figure something out. If
But
I'm
how are you
homeless,
going to
I'm
get
gonna
a
figure
job if you're
something out.
homeless? We already talked about this, Matt. People don't
Well,
want to hire homeless people.
this whole job thing. I mean, I'm gonna figure something out. Like I said, I'm gonna research.
Matt, people try and fail to quote unquote figure things out all
People
the
try
time.
and fail, bro. People try and they figure out how to do it successfully all the time.
Yeah,
And
no,
at
but
a certain
I'm telling you that like the class
people
mobility
will.
is not something that's like it. We're seeing it drop off. In droves. Like it's not something that can be so easily amended. Like there's like you said, that
Well, I
it's
mean,
super
if you want to
complicated.
tell
Like there's
yourself
so many
that,
factors to take into account. I think the most of it being like the fact that like cities don't have don't allocate the appropriate resources to like making sure that people can live in them. They're more concerned with like turning a profit and like and basically whoring
maybe
themselves
in
out to
some
big
cities
business.
you got to move if you can't afford it. Maybe in some cities you
Well,
got to.
people who work in a city, I think, should be able to afford to live in that city. Because by working in that city, you're saying that like I'm doing something necessary to keep the city functioning, right?
Yeah, but the rich psychopaths in power don't give a shit about your morals. To accept that, and you have to figure out what you're gonna do.
Yeah. But are you saying that you want to just let those rich sociopaths carry on business as usual, or are you willing to take a stand and well, are you willing to take a stand and say that it's fucked up that like rich people lobby in the government to try to make the best means for them? Like it's only fair that
I don't know how it works. I don't know if the lobbyists are really, these people who are, rich business owners. Definitely, if they're sociopaths, they're very good at manipulating people. They probably know a lot more about how people work than I do. So they probably, if they are actually good guys, they know what they're doing. And maybe
well
my stupid ass is going to get, affected. Maybe my stupid ass is going to go out on the street, but how many other people are not going to die?
wait,
So I
what?
got to think that. I got to think of that. I got to think of myself.
Well, so you're just saying that rich people are just inherently smarter because they have the money? I don't understand.
No, some of them, they got there because they were smart and they figured out what to do and they made
Well, you
lots of
just said that
money.
they're good at manipulating people, so like I don't know
If they
if
are, if I'm talking about the specific demographic.
like you're basically just like standing for like Darwinian economics, where like because people have money, they're smart enough to. So if I go out and rob a bank, it's like, am I suddenly a genius because I have a bunch of money? No, obviously
If
not.
you can get away with it, this day and age, you're pretty smart. So yeah, you are smart. You
Okay.
figured out how to go into jail. You're pretty intelligent to figure that out.
I don't think you have to be that smart to like hold up a bank teller and like say, "Give me all the money that you have." Because by and large, they're going to give
Yeah,
it to
but
you,
to
right?
get
They're
to
not going to
get
they're not
caught,
going to risk their lives
you got
trying
to
to,
get
huh?
to not get to not get caught. You know, to especially you, Aiden McCarty.
Hello,
If you were to
dude.
change
Don't
your
dox me, man.
if you were to change your identity and you were to successfully figure out how to rob a bank tomorrow, that'd be impressive. Now,
Well,
maybe somebody who lived in the ghetto their whole life and they know how to do all these hustling moves and they've been around people who rob banks and shit like that, and they know how
I
to
don't
like
I don't
use
think I don't think
manipulate.
your like economic viability should be based on like how well you're able to manipulate and deceive people and rob and steal,
Well,
right?
see,
I don't think
probably
that like
not, but
people who rob
I'm
banks
trying to
should be able.
say,
Well, you are saying that because it's you just said that like if you're able to get away with it, then like kudos, man, you earned it, and I'm like, well,
to a
no,
certain extent, and it kind of, you know, the point is that look, in this system, if a bank gets robbed, it goes to the government gives it, you know, so
uh huh,
that kind of works out. But
okay,
yeah, and not only that, if you're able to figure it out, I'm trying to say that, you know, some people, if they figure out how to rob a bank, coming from something else and going to that instantly, that could be impressive. But I'm not saying that it's good. I think that, you know, balancing out Machiavellianism and altruism are pretty useful things to do. Because there is a part of your life that, you know, you don't want to be a kid. You don't want to be a nice guy. You don't want to be a mean guy, shit like that. So, you know, that's kind of
I kind of want to be
liberation.
a nice guy. That sounds pretty cool.
Well, you know what I mean. The beta nice guy, the pushover, that archetype. You don't
Oh
want to
yeah,
be
this
that.
goes back to your fear of being cucked, right?
Well, look, being cucked is not good, but that's besides the point. The whole idea is that you don't want to be passive, you don't want to be
No, you don't want to
aggressive,
be a
you don't want to be
pushover. I can get
assertive.
down with that. You don't want to be taken advantage
So,
of. That's a
so
perfectly
I'm just saying you don't want to be a guy, you don't want to be a mean guy, shit like that.
No, I want to be a nice guy though. I think it's good to be nice. I think it's good to be generous. Like
Well,
I think
I
you
mean, you
should
see
be
what?
rewarded in society for being
Yeah.
generous and being you know, affluent and all that stuff. Is affluent
Well, I'll
the right
tell
word?
you,
Effusive? I don't know.
affluent means that you have a reputation. You have
Okay.
money that has been given to you through reputation, or yeah, I think it has to do with money via reputation. If you happen to get lucky during the Bitcoin bubble, you're not affluent. You just got rich.
Okay.
But if you have money because you're a well-respected lawyer, so that's affluent.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Okay.
But I do think that the whole shaming of a nice guy archetype, you know, they criticize it because it's ineffective with women. It's like people take advantage of that and stuff
Well,
like that. And then
do you
there's
think
just
that nice people don't like aren't able to get like dates and stuff? I'm not talking about like quote unquote. I'm not
well,
talking
you
about
know what
nice
I
guys TM. I'm talking about
no,
just like nice people.
I'm talking about nice guys TM.
Okay, well,
I'm
I'm
talking
just
about
cause, see the thing is with nice guys TM, they're not actually nice guys. They use their you know proposed niceness as a proxy to then get laid. Right? They're not genuinely you know kind
well,
or
that may not be the
sensitive,
well, no, because they could be kind and sensitive.
but they're
But
not.
they're not mean necessarily.
They're just
It's more
selfish
complicated.
and
It doesn't mean that they're
manipulative.
selfish. It doesn't mean that they're
Well,
selfish.
yeah,
It's
no.
just that
If you're using like the cover of being nice in order to like get laid, then that's not nice. That's
well,
being manipulative.
is it any less nice to then like research seduction and then use assertiveness to get laid and then have successfully get laid as a result of using the assertiveness and the things that women do find attractive? But is that looked down upon? Is that then not nice? I mean, it depends. You know, somebody could be very. So the thing with like attracting women is that it's hard to do with empathy because women don't really look stuff that if you want to treat people the way that you want to be treated and you want to treat like a prospective love partner the way that you would want to be treated, there's going to be a conflict because maybe the way that you want a woman to treat you as a man is not the way that as a man should treat a woman if you want to get her attracted to you. That's at least the consensus, and it's what I use.
I don't.
It's what I go by.
No, I think it's. I
Regardless.
don't think it's like a dichotomy between men and women. I think just generally, it's like there is some consolidation that needs to be had if whenever you're trying to have your own needs met and also meet the needs of your partner. I don't think
But
it's a split between
the
men
needs
and
of a
women.
woman in a relationship are different than the needs of man in a relationship.
Not
So,
necessarily.
well, there are definitely differences there, and the differences
Are genetic.
they're biologically determined. Yeah.
Okay.
You can have other things that are not biologically determined. Maybe
So what's something
in
that
terms
women
of
want that men don't?
interests, something that women
Because you're
want that
saying they're
men
different,
don't.
right? Men and
Yeah.
women's needs are different. So give me an example. How are they different?
Women want a man who will lead them.
Okay.
Men do not necessarily want a woman who will lead them. I mean, some of them do, and some of them, I suppose, who want the women to lead them do not find a woman at all because a lot of women do not want that. And
Okay.
they do not want to
So
lead the man. They do want to, this and that.
I think generally people, unless you're looking for your like trad wife, like you kind of just you want it to be a partnership, right? You don't necessarily want any party to be the leader and the other one to be the follower, right? You kind of want to like walk hand in hand and make decisions that like benefit you both mutually.
Well, you do have a girlfriend. You haven't been dating her for that long.
Yeah, they use they them
So,
pronouns, but I call them my girlfriend. Yeah. No, we've been
so
dating for about a little over half a year, I think, since like June.
was it June? I
I
remember.
forget.
Well, I remember.
Honestly,
So
I'm a bad boyfriend.
yeah, I remember the relationship status on Facebook changed in like October, so I thought October was the start date. But I
No,
suppose
we didn't.
you knew her before then, and
Yeah.
the thing that I forget where I was. I do
So
have
yeah,
a
if we can shift gears a little bit, Matt, have you been in like a relationship? I'm not trying to like put you on
yeah.
blast.
No, I'm in one right now.
All right, cool. So
Yeah.
do you think that there's something that like do you think there's something biologically essential that you want that your partner doesn't?
Something biologically essential that I want and
Like
that
as a
she
man, as a
doesn't
dude.
want as a dude.
Oh, Jesus.
See, I would have to think about it in the relation of that, right? So I am currently thinking that, and I might be able to give you an answer if I think about it enough.
Okay, take your time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get off soon because I have to get up early to go to the psychiatrist.
Okay. That's not really what we're talking about, though.
Well, it is. You made the
It's
claim
kind of
that
like
there's you made a biological essentialist claim that there's something intrinsic to what women want out of relationships that's different than what men want out of relationships. And I'd say there's probably trends that you can find, but I think those are more socially constructed than anything else. I would say there's no biological essential component that makes women want something as opposed to men, right?
so the woman wants me to take control in the bedroom. We discussed this
Yeah.
previously. Now that's what the woman wants.
Okay.
I don't really care if I'm a dom or a sub.
Okay.
Usually, I dated a self-proclaimed dom for a couple of weeks, but I just ended up taking control in the bedroom because she just didn't do it. Like she said, she was dom, but she wasn't. And it's kind
Okay.
of like, well, maybe she would have been dom, but not with me.
You're too much of a Chad. You're too much of an alpha.
I'm too much of a Chad.
You can't be contained.
It's not how the situation went, because I was waiting for her to do some Dom stuff and she just wasn't matching that energy, and I'm like, well, then I guess somebody's got to be the Dom, so I'm gonna do it. And that's
Hey,
the
I'm
way
the
that
Dom.
yeah,
Has there ever been like an
Dom.
SNL sketch where it's like it's instead of the Don, it's the Dom? Sorry.
Oh my god, dude, Dom Corleone. That has to be a sketch.
You're
Dom
welcome. You can pitch
Corleone.
that.
Oh, that'd be funny as fuck. Dom Corleone.
Yeah.
I knew someone. She called herself Dom and her Dominique. And I wonder if she was a Dom in the bedroom. I
Nice.
should have asked her.
Hmm.
I was 16. I was not. No, I would have said shit like that when I was 16. What am I kidding? Yo, I remember I was dancing with this girl when I was 16, and I went to pick her up, during the dance, and I picked her up, but I picked her up really far, and I made her head hit the ceiling.
Oh,
And then she
dude,
slapped me.
you gotta watch your power level, man. You're too much of a Chad.
Oh, dude, man, like, this virgin, her earphones fell right out of her ears, and she got really pissed. She didn't get really pissed. I've been talking to her. She likes Henry Kissinger, though, like, unironically.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I
Hmm.
don't know why people would like Henry Kissinger unironically, but
I kind of forget what his deal was.
oh
Which
man,
administration was he involved in?
he was in the Nixon administration. He was
Right.
the vice president of Nixon.
Oh, okay.
And if you want to talk about somebody who really likes Darwinian politics, you should look up the views of Henry Kissinger.
Hmm.
He is a real Darwinian. Now, I'm posturing this Darwinian stuff because I'm saying, listen, folks, this is the way that the world kind of is, whether or not you want to like it. And if you want to change it, you have to accept the fact that that's the way that it is. And
Wait,
we have to look at this
you have to
pragmatically.
change it, but you have to accept the way that it is. Right. That's
Well,
why you
you
want to
have
change
to
it, right?
fight against it for yourself. You can't just say, I'm not going to do something because it's bad and I'm going to instead revolt against it. You want to think of that Nietzschean slave morality, master morality. You want to have the master morality. You have to appreciate the strength and the honor, not seek to get rid of strength and get rid of honor. But there's a difference between constructive competition and destructive competition. And a lot of the times our society, we have a lot of destructive competition going on. So to say
Yeah.
that in order to have, capitalism necessarily causes destructive competition is rather false.
Oh,
Don't
yeah?
think it doesn't necessarily cause
Oh.
destructive competition. You can have lots of constructive competition in a capitalist economy and with in between people, and just think about the idea that, well, it's part of your life to put the people that you want inside of it and the kinds of people that you want inside of it. And if you want to look for constructive competition to avoid destructive competition, I think that's a good idea. But you kind of have to make that up. And, some of these, well, you could talk about some of the poor communities and how it's harder to get out of them because there's so much destructive competition going on between people in those communities, especially with the gangs and everything. What is that but
Oh, the
destructive
gangs.
competition?
Oh, yeah, the
Right.
gangs.
That's bad stuff. Nobody says that that's good stuff. And when people get into it because they
Yeah.
want family and everything's a wreck at home and this and that.
Yeah, I'd say a lot
It's
of
just sad.
that is a result of capitalism, is the alienation of labor.
Have you read Richard Schmidt, Alienation and Freedom?
No, I don't read. No,
Oh,
that's a lie. I actually read. I started to read a book for like the first time in years. So
because that sounded like a really Schmittian argument that you were making. was like, oh, I bet you he might have read Alienation and Freedom. I'm going to ask him.
No, I just watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Oh, maybe they read Alienation and Freedom. It's kind of okay, but my final paper for that class was arguing against his point that capitalism is destructive.
Okay.
Because I don't think that, I think, yeah, okay. In the capitalist system, you can get away with destructive competition very easily.
Yeah, it creates like
You
this
can get away
this
with it.
yeah it creates a like a negative incentive or what's it called, a conflict of interest or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Honestly, I wonder how much I've been in an echo chamber. It's kind of fun. I talk to people on both the left and the right who agree with me on a lot of stuff, but I don't realize that because they're agreeing with me on most of the stuff, I'm not really. Me and you agree on a lot of stuff too, but then every so
wait, do
often,
we?
the way that I word something, I think we do, but the way that I word
Like
stuff,
what? What do we agree on? I don't think we agree on very
a
much.
lot of things. Well, we agree on poor people being poor because of psychological state.
Wait, what? No.
Because I'm not explaining it the right way.
We don't agree. You didn't make an argument.
I can't make an argument. I'm trying to think of how to put it, but
Well, we don't agree then.
no. What I need to do is I need to refine the point so that I can actually.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
I need the most.
Okay. Well, you definitely come back on stream and you can try to convince me that poor people, it's their own fault that they're poor.
That's not. See, that's what you're getting out of what I'm saying. You're getting an emotional argument because the way that you express.
Oh, I'm getting triggered, dude. I'm fucking reeing.
Yeah, dude. You got.
I'm freaking like flipping my my keyboard over because I'm so upset and I'm so triggered.
No, dude. See, what I'm saying is that you want to take the route of, is it their fault that they're poor? Look, a lot of people do.
So you're saying that it's not poor people's fault that they're poor?
Listen, sometimes you don't realize that something is your fault.
Oh, I see. It's their fault, but they don't realize it's their fault.
Well, of course. I mean, what is fault but blame, and what is blame but
consequences?
No, you're talking about the causality.
Yes.
You're talking about the causality. So if you're saying that it's their fault, they don't realize it. What you're saying is, they did this, therefore this happened. If something else happened, this would not have happened. So, it is quote unquote their fault, but they didn't know that.
Well, I would say it's not their fault. Like if you're born into a poor family, I don't think it's your fault that you're poor, right?
No, I mean, past the, you could make the argument that, the kid could have at age 5, figured out something. He could have gone in his, because there are people who at age 5 will figure out, certain things.
Yeah. What percentage of people do you think do that? Right? Would you say they're the majority, or would you say that they're statistical outliers?
Oh, definitely statistical outliers.
Oh, I see. So maybe we should focus on like the majority of cases. So because we're living in a reality and not a fairy tale land where everyone gets to be a exceptional person.
Listen, man. I used the age of 5, which was a little bit too low.
Yeah, 7's more realistic.
Okay. No. Let's say I use the age of 30. I'm going to use the age of 30, maybe 35. We'll use it.
Well, you've already been poor for 30 years, so I don't think if you suddenly invent the frisbee at 30, like that means that you're not poor. It's like the majority of your life you've been poor. So that's kind of
what should be 20. But I'm trying to ask you to imagine the nuance that I'm trying to.
No, you're trying to create a false scenario where like the majority of people have the means to fix their situation. A lot of the people just don't. People don't have the means to fix their situation. They're disenfranchised. That's my point.
I'm trying to reason the angle that these things would have to exist at for the particular cases to be understood. Not for them to be true or not true. They're going to be true or they're not going to be true.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding can occur at whatever angle you want to posit. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to think about, where we could construct this system of understanding to fit reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think a more fundamental restructuring of the way that we pay for things that like basically decommodifying essential things to live, like housing and food and healthcare and stuff like that, is a good step towards fixing a lot of these problems. Because hey, man, if you don't have to worry about finding a place to live, and if you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from, and you don't have to worry about going to the doctor, it's like who the fuck cares how much money you have, right? If all your basic needs are being met, it's like everything else is just fucking frosting. It's just gravy.
Well, I think one of the things that I have against this is that, I'm concerned about the type of taxes that I need to avoid, and some of these Democrats are proposing these taxes, and some of them
But we go
aren't.
back.
But it seems as if
We go back to the taxing argument. Like when I proposed that, like would you mind being like taxed like 5% more if it meant that you even though that I don't think that your taxes would go up, because I don't think your income bracket is high enough. I mean, I could be I don't know, you might be making like over $100,000. I have no clue. But it sounds like you're not you're struggling like a lot of young people are. And if even if you were being taxed slightly more, even through like stocks or whatever, and because I know you do like financial trading and all that stuff, if in return you got like free healthcare, free education, it's like all that money would be just going back to you, and you would get way more back than you would be giving out.
That's not what I'm talking about. Some of these taxes would make it impossible for me to do this for a living. I'm not saying I get taxed 5% more a year. I'm saying I'm out of the game entirely. Like, some of these taxes are that bad, and Bernie Sanders proposes it, and Andrew Yang proposes it. And it just completely turns me off of anything that any of these people have to say.
Because you being able to do this one specific job is more important than the rest of society getting healthcare.
That's the manipulation.
No, you told me yourself that those are your priorities. You're just looking out for yourself, which I'm like, okay, fair enough.
It's my priority. This does not need to exist.
But you work that job in order to what? Like buy to afford rent and to like pay bills and stuff like that.
I go after this because I want to succeed. I want to make a.
What does it mean to succeed?
100,000 a year. I want to be a musician, and I don't want to be a musician on the side. I don't want to be a starving artist. Okay, these are my goals.
So if you had a place to live, right, and you had healthcare, and you had free education, and you had like meals.
That has nothing to do with it. You can get that stuff without doing these specific types of taxes. You can get that stuff doing other things.
Well, no, because if you had all your basic needs met, then there would basically be nothing standing in your way.
Yes, there would be things standing in my way. It would be, more than just that stuff. It's not going to work like that. There's going to be people taking advantage of but you can have those things, taxed through other ways. Like this whole
like taxing the rich.
I'm not betting my life on the government. I'm not betting my life on any of this stuff. And these.
Well, now you're just betting your life on corporations and like like health.
I'm not betting my life.
Well, yeah, no, health insurance companies are basically you're their bitch, right? Instead of the government being your owner, it's corporations.
Yeah, okay, listen, I would take myself if it was like either a million people that you don't know are gonna die and you're gonna live, or you can just die. I would say kill the million people. Like I don't want to be part of it. I want to live. You want to kill a million people. You want to kill 10 million people. I don't know. Go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Whatever. Don't fucking come at me with these trolley problems. You're not gonna win.
I don't think you can win a trolley problem, but okay.
Well, sure you can. I mean, it's not really easy. It doesn't make me feel anything. You tell me.
Mhm.
I mean, I would more or less laugh that you think I'm that important.
So you lack empathy, is what you're saying.
No, I don't
You
have
don't care
empathy
about other
in a lot
people.
of situations. It depends on how, if I think you're making me so that if I don't be a certain way, I have to like not be considered. No, I don't have any for you. If you're gonna tell me that I have to do this thing a certain way, if you're telling me I can't be myself, but I have to care about you, then I'm not gonna care about it.
What What do you mean, be yourself?
I'm trying to be broad, so
Well, I'm asking you to be specific.
we have been specific. If you want to have,
Not really.
well, listen. First off, there's lots of arguments for market healthcare, which is better for people who are majority in, and there's also arguments that you could say that
Well, if people can't afford it, how is it better?
no, there are some people who can't afford it, but the more you try to make it so that people who can't afford it can afford it, the more you're likely to make it so more people can't afford it because you're sort of like putting that psychic energy there. And it's like the
Okay,
weird
man.
shit. We're getting into like the unconscious stuff.
It's been a really good conversation. I gotta go to bed. Okay. As soon as
Like,
we
I'm just
start
gonna
talking
tell
about
you right
psychic energies, I gotta tap out.
I think that's honestly. I mean, it's a one way to talk. But I think that's kind of what it is.
Okay.
You want to ask the stuff. I think that the more you focus on stuff, the more likely it is that it's going to happen that way, and it's a lot easier to do it the negative way. And people want to say, oh, well, there's this thing called the law of attraction, and you focus on the positive, go towards the positive necessarily. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that, but what I do think is that the more you focus on the negative, the more that the negative happens, and it's very easy to go down that way, and it's like almost instantaneous half the time. You want to focus on the negative stuff. The negative stuff is eventually going to go up. That's the way that I think that is. As far as focusing on the positive stuff, I've tried that, and I've gotten like kind of like halfway, and then I wasn't able to go full way. So I can imagine that some people try to get out of situations using that, and they don't do it. It's because maybe they went halfway and not the full way. But that's just my experience, and it's kind of a taboo subject, but it's not really based in evidence. But sometimes there's stuff in life that you don't have evidence for, and
Oh yeah. Sometimes you just gotta believe in Yahweh. All right, man. I gotta end the stream. Okay.
You know what? It was a good conversation, and I'd like to have another one.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have somebody else on because it's hard for me to argue these points. I kind of stopped drawing at a certain point because I have to be able to like collect my thoughts and respond. But yeah, man.
No.
So have a good night. Okay.
Now,
What?
what am I banned now or
What? No.
something? You don't want me on the next one. We don't have.
No, I said have someone else in addition to you is what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. Have a good night.
All right. Peace out, bruh. Whoo, doggy. Whoo, doggy. That was kind of rough. I hope I argued my points effectively. I don't even think I did. I wasn't able to string my thoughts together coherently. Well, coherently enough. Alrighty. Anyway, peace out, y'all. Have a good night, okay?